Today, we are going to make the most practical IoT-based hydroponic system using the ESP32 Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth module, the DFrobot's Gravity Analog pH Sensor Kit V2, EC or TDS Sensor, Analog Signal Isolators, DS18B20 Waterproof one-wire digital temperature sensor, the most versatile UART version of the A02YYUW Waterproof Ultrasonic Sensor, and Blynk application for the monitoring. Let's first start with the Gravity Analog pH Sensor Kit V2. And let me also tell you, this is the upgraded version of the pH meter V1, which could only be used with 5-volt compatible controller boards, whereas the pH meter V2 is compatible with both 3.3 volt and 5-volt compatible controller boards. Inside this box, you get a product qualification card, a paper that gives you an introduction, technical details, and safety tips about pH sensor, a pH probe with a BNC connector, the pH sensor interface board or the signal conversion board. It must be kept dry and clean, otherwise it will affect the input impedance, resulting in an inaccurate measurement, some wires and screws, and standard buffer solutions 4.0 and 7.0. For the perfect calibration of the pH sensor, you should have these buffer solutions. That's why I ordered this complete kit. I also ordered 2 analog signal isolators. If you have ever used a pH sensor and an EC sensor at the same time in the same container, you know that the sensor readings can get messed up because of ground looping. So to avoid ground looping, I'm going to use 2 analog signal isolators. I will use one with the pH sensor and the other one with the EC sensor. Besides this, I have already made getting started videos on the A02YYUW Waterproof Ultrasonic Sensor, EC Sensor, DS18B20 Waterproof one-wire digital temperature sensor, and the SSD1306 OLED display module. I will add links to all the related videos in the description. This is a complete hydroponic system. You can directly check the water pH value, TDS or EC value, and water level in the tank on the display. You can also read these values on the Blynk application from anywhere in the world. Right now, the pH and TDS values you see are for drinking water. Let's add some cold drink and see if the values change. The pH value of the water has dropped because Pepsi is acidic, so our pH sensor and EC sensor are working well. On the board, you can see a relay, and I have connected a 110 or 220 volt AC bulb to it. Remember, safety first. When the 110 or 220 volt AC supply is connected, never touch the relay contacts, as it can be extremely dangerous. It is important to note that when working with mains voltage, proper safety precautions should always be taken, and it is advisable to consult relevant electrical codes and standards. Anyway, this bulb will only turn on when the sensor values change from the preset levels. For example, if the water level in the tank gets low, the bulb will turn on, otherwise it will stay off. You can do the same for pH, temperature, and TDS values based on your preference. You can also send a notification message through the Blynk app, but as you know, the notification widget is no longer available in the free plan. So if you want to generate notification messages for this, you will have to purchase a pro plan. You might be wondering if the pH value is correct or not. Then let me tell you, I calibrated the pH sensor using buffer solutions. How do you know if your pH sensor is properly calibrated? Well, you need to dip the pH sensor into these buffer solutions. If you get the correct values, it means your pH sensor is calibrated correctly. Let me show it to you. As you can see, this is the pH 7 solution. For pH 7 solution, it shows 7 on the display. Now let's test it with a pH 4 solution. Remember, when you use buffer solutions, you need to clean the probe with water each time. Make sure there isn't any pH 7 solution on the probe when you dip it into the pH 4 solution and vice versa. You can see that this hydroponic system successfully detected the pH 4 solution When I used these solutions for the first time, I was getting wrong pH values. As you can see, there is no potentiometer on the pH sensor interface board for calibration. So I had to calibrate it by playing with the calibration value in the program. It was easy, and that's why I recommend the DFrobot's pH sensors. Anyway, during calibration, first dip the pH probe in the buffer solution. If you get the wrong value on the display, simply adjust the calibration value in the program until the pH probe reading matches with the buffer solution. This process should take around 2 minutes. Anyway, after this, when you dip the pH probe into the pH4 solution, it will automatically detect it. If you get a wrong value, it means you didn't calibrate it correctly. This is so for the best ESP32 development board, and I have made many projects with it. I have even used the same board for tracking my car. I have used it with LoRa for monitoring plants, and there are so many other projects. You can find links to the related videos in the description. On this board, you get a 5V and 3A power supply, which can power up many sensors and breakout boards. Here you can see that I have added a DC socket, so you can easily power it up with any adapter from 9 volts to 25 volts. Right now, I'm using a 12 volt adapter. Anyway, you can remove the DC socket and connect wires from a solar panel, or you can directly connect a battery. You won't have any power related issues with this board because I have used it a lot, and so far I have not faced any power issues. Another good thing about this board is you can connect a 4G LTE module over here, so in places where there is no Wi-Fi available, you can use a 4G LTE module. But for that, you will need to make some changes in the code, which I will explain in upcoming videos. The biggest problem that people face in hydroponic systems is ground looping. I've explained this in detail in my Arduino-based hydroponic system. To solve the ground looping issue, I have used 2 analog signal isolators, one with the EC sensor and the other one with the pH sensor. So the final result is in front of you. The pH sensor and TDS or EC sensor are both in the same container, and still the values are very stable. If we didn't use analog signal isolators, we would get wrong pH and TDS values. In this hydroponic system, I could have used the TOF10120 laser rangefinder distance sensor, which would have been quite easy for me because I have already used the TOF10120 laser distance sensor in my previous Arduino-based hydroponic system, making programming much easier for me. But I didn't do that. Why? Because the TOF10120 laser rangefinder sensor has a very short range and its accuracy is not good either. So using it at the product level is not good at all. That's why this time I used the A02YYUW Waterproof Ultrasonic Sensor, the same sensor you will find in most high-end user products. Personally, this is my favorite distance sensor, and ever since I used it for my previous client, I have been using it in all my distance-related projects. By using easy EDA schematic and PCB designing software, I have also designed a new development board for the hydroponic system. This is its first version and it's completely different from my other boards. On this board, I have used USB-C and ESD protection IC. This board is based on the original ESP32 S3 controller. Additionally, I have also added the SSD13060 LED display module. Before I further modify this board, first I will run some tests on it, and once I'm completely satisfied, then I will add a relay and connectors for the sensors. For this board, I have already generated the Gerber, BOM and pick-and-place files. Before placing an order on Next PCB, I thoroughly checked my PCB's Gerber files using Next PCB's HQDFM desktop software. You can also find the HQDFM service on Next PCB's website, which you can use for free. Anyway, I also performed PCBA analysis and DFM analysis. Any issues in your PCB design will be visible on the right side. Let's say if I check for signal integrity errors, you can see it has given me a complete list. Now I can check these errors one by one. These errors are related to acute angles. According to the design rules, PCB traces should not have sharp edges. Anyway, after fixing the related issues, the next step is to place the PCB order. For this, you simply need to go to the Next PCB website and upload your Gerber files there. After analyzing the Gerber files for a few seconds, it will automatically detect the dimensions of the PCB. Next, you need to select the quantity. Since it's for prototyping, I'm going to select 5 PCBs. After that, you can choose your favorite PCB color. For now, I'm going to select blue. If you only need PCBs, then next you can select your shipment method, and that's it, your order will be placed. But if you also need PCB assembly services, you need to check the 8 PCB assembly box and then go ahead and click on the continue button. Next, for PCB assembly, you also need to add the centroid file, which is a pick and place file. You can generate this file in Easy EDS software with just a single button click. Next, you need to add the BOM file, which you can also generate in Easy EDA. While designing the PCB, try to use parts that are available in stock. It's going to take some time to analyze the BOM file. You can see that I don't have some parts available, but don't worry because next PCB also provides component sourcing services, so they will arrange the missing parts themselves. But for confirmation, they will send you an email and you will need to answer yes or no, so you don't need to search for components. Let the next PCB engineers do it for you. Right now, you can see the assembly cost is quite high, and that's because we are only ordering 5 PCBs. When the quantity of PCBs is higher, the cost decreases significantly. So I have a pro tip for you. For 5 PCBs, you can use the assembly services for free if the quantity of components on your board is 30 or less. So for prototyping, try to limit your BOM file to 30 components and delete the remaining components. Don't delete components that are difficult to solder or hard to find. In my case, I placed a full order because I don't have most of the components, so I want next PCB to arrange and solder those components for me. I've placed this dummy order for you. You can see the cost of PCBs is 14.56 USD. The cost of components for 5 PCBs is 113.6, which is great. And the PCB assembly cost is only 20 USD. The actual price was 247 USD. So if you also want to reduce the cost of your prototype PCBs, you can do the same as I suggested. Anyway, I have already placed my order, and as soon as I receive the PCBs, I will share updates with you. By the way, the PCB board I'm currently using, I have also manufactured it from Next PCB. Their PCB quality is quite amazing. If you also want to order high quality PCBs for your projects, you can click on the first link in the description. Anyway, if you don't have a development board, you can also do the same exact connections on a breadboard. For connections, you can follow this circuit diagram. Now let's start with a Blynk web dashboard setup. While you are logged into your Blynk account, click on the new template. Write the template name. While ESP32 is selected as the hardware type and Wi-Fi as the connection type, click on the Done button. After this, all the steps are exactly the same. I've already created quite detailed video on the Blynk web dashboard setup, so if you face any issues, you can watch my getting started tutorial on the ESP32 and new Blynk v2.0. When the dashboard is ready, simply copy these credentials, open the program that you can download from my website electronicclinic.com and paste the credentials. Don't forget to change the GPRS credentials. If this is your first time using the ESP32 Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth module, then you will also need to install the ESP32 board in the Arduino IDE. For this, you can watch my getting started video on the ESP32 Wi-Fi plus Bluetooth module. Next, you will also need to install the entire Blynk library package. For this, simply go to the sketch menu, then to include library and click on the manage libraries. Type Blynk in the search box. You can see I have also installed this library. It works with over 400 boards. You will also need to install the required libraries. For this, simply copy the library name, then go to the sketch menu, then to include library and click on the manage libraries. As you can see, I have already installed this library. Repeat the same exact steps for all the remaining libraries. Finally, you can upload the program. In my case, I have already uploaded this program. Next, you can start with the Blynk IoT application setup on your smartphone. Our application is also ready. Support me on Patreon for more videos. I hope you liked today's episode. Like and share this video with your friends. See you in next episode and thanks for watching.